What's up, three heads? Like I said, I'm gonna officially kick it off right at 1 o'clock here with a little intro I usually do. I just want to make sure you can hear me okay, and then I can hear you okay.
I can hear you wonderfully. If you can hear me good too.
Awesome, yeah. So like we'll just give it the next 2 minutes and whatever seconds here, and then we'll start up at 1 o'clock, and then we're ready to go. So I'll be right back.
Sounds good. Okay.
Dope. What up? What up? It is 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the Talking About Life podcast. I am your host, Kowski, and we are here to talk about life and beyond that, talk about our guest passions and our passions as well. Today, we are blessed again. We have another guest on the show. So thank God that guests keep coming our way. Otherwise, what would we talk about on the show? Who would we be talking to? Today, we are talking to Three Heads Creating. It's also known as Greg Bereski. On his bio, which we always read, we have creative, creator, creating. Hardly Hollywood is my baby. V Friends is a blue chip, and OCB holder. Now, unique situation here. We got Three Heads Creating actually back on the show. First time we had Greg or Three Heads on the show. We had, I don't even know what, some sort of situation, not to be disclosed, top secret, maybe to be disclosed on the episode, who knows? Or maybe it's top secret. Doesn't matter. Either way, we had a situation where we had to, right in the middle, we had to just cut things off and say, let's pick it up later. Now is that later where we're picking things back up. Three Heads, how are you doing? What's up? And how's your day going?
I'm great, Kowski. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Really appreciate you having this space and this platform to discuss life. I mean, life is an important thing in our world. So, to be able to discuss it with someone who's a like-minded person who kind of sees things from a lot of different perspectives and is able to kind of put life into perspective sometimes. It's good to have the conversation. I do apologize for last time when we hopped off abruptly. Everything is okay, and it's good to be back. So let's get into the topic of discussion in life, and would love to hear what's going on in your world too.
Yeah, absolutely. And no worries. Like I said, you always got to deal with emergencies first. Life comes as it comes, right? We're talking about life. It would be very remiss to talk about life and not acknowledge that some unexpected shit happens. So Obviously, I get that. And yes, thank you for acknowledging. I do try to keep an open mind, and just ponder things like you said, kind of from all angles here. And even if someone disagrees with you, as long as they're not, hurting you directly or your family, or, hurting innocents or other people directly, or hurting people in some way, then really, I think you should be able to just maintain their thought in your mind, consider it, reflect on it. You don't have to have some angry reaction. You can go, okay, I don't agree with that, but I think this, they think that. So I love it. I love the attitude. I love the approach here. I love the perspective. Now, I think, I mean, and we could kind of take it where you want. I think last time we were gonna get into, you were gonna tell me about having like a victor's mindset over a victim's mindset, and you're gonna go off basically, I think, into kind of like your approach to like mentality or mindset towards life. Um, I still wanted to hear about that, so I think that's a good place to start. Unless you had another place in mind that you wanted to start.
No, I think that's a great place to start. It's something that kind of uh, a light switch kind of flicked on. I think we last time I was on, we kind of discussed a little bit about how I had somewhat of an awakening, um, where I recognized the value of life and how I had so much control over my own life, so much more than I thought previously. And once that light switch flicked on, I developed that victor mindset of not understanding that life will beat us down. People will, not react in ways that we want them to react sometimes, but that shouldn't change the goal and the trajectory of the way we live our lives, because we do have so much control, even during times when we feel hopeless or feel weak or feel like we've lost control. Those are the moments where we need to dig deeper and find that victor's mentality, because in a way, like, it's inside all of us. I do believe that, and it's something that is empowering for us to overcome adversity, to overcome obstacles in our lives. And I think that the more that we take on that mindset and really dig deep into our soul to find that motivation, that ignition that is going to create that fire, the more we're able to do that, the more we're able to get back up when we do get knocked down. So I think it's a really important thing to discuss is mindset. Life is a mental game in a way. From my perspective, I think that there's a lot of things that we can do in our lives that start as a thought. It starts as a thought, it becomes an emotion. The emotion triggers or fuels the actions. The actions done repeatedly create habits and routines, and those habits and routines quickly become our everyday life. And I think that's it's important to start off that process, that almost assembly line of features of to our lives, and to start off in our thoughts with those positive, empowering, inspirational, whatever positive connotation you want to put to those thoughts. I think it's important to start there and start, as that launch pad to positivity.
Now, before we go too far here into the actual philosophy, let me ask you this, and I don't know if there's an answer, but you said this light switch kind of flicked for you, or it flipped. What was there like a reason for that? Like, I'm kind of curious. Like, was it literally just random? You just woke up in the middle of the night, or you woke up, you were brushing your teeth and like getting ready for go to work or whatever, and you're like, wait a second, I don't have to be a victim anymore. I'm imagining it's probably more than that. I'm imagining some sort of catalyst must have happened, but anything's possible, right? So, like, what was that moment, or was there a moment?
Yeah, there absolutely was a moment, and I'll kind of take a few steps back and start from really the beginning. I was dating a girl in my mid 20s. That was a really good relationship, and I kind of got really comfortable. And I think I might have at least touched on this story back the last time we spoke, but to get better clarity and to really iron it all out. I was dating her. I got really comfortable in the relationship, and not just comfortable in the relationship, but comfortable in life. I started to get to a point where I was very stagnant. I was not growing anymore, and I kind of lost myself a little bit. I gained weight. I was not motivated. I was not like attacking life with passion. I was not following a purpose, and it really spoiled the relationship in a way that she wasn't going to take it anymore, and she did leave me. And I entered a kind of depressive state during then. And a friend of mine, so the girl and I actually had a trip planned to California. We didn't really like get the plane tickets or hotels or anything like that. We just kind of ironed out the date that we were going to go. And so when I entered that little depression, a buddy of mine was like, "Dude, just go out there anyways. Just go out there by yourself." And it I didn't want to at first. I didn't want to deal with anything. I just wanted to be in my own little cocoon. But something told me to listen to him, and I did go out there. And I was astounded by just the different world that was out there, specifically along that coast, because it was the summertime. Everybody was having fun, loving life, enjoying themselves, looking good, feeling good. And that week, I put about 2,000 miles on my rental car, just driving up and down the Pacific Coast Highway. And it was a moment driving southbound on the Pacific Coast Highway. I came to a stoplight and I looked to my right and I saw, I don't remember if it was like Venice Beach or Hermosa Beach, or it was one of those beach areas where people were playing volleyball, loving life, having fun. And I looked over and I said, why isn't that me? Why am I not having fun? Why am I not loving life with friends and people that I enjoy, and doing activities that I love doing? Um, and it was it was synchronicity, the way it all unfolded. It was almost like a wink from the universe, because as soon as the light that I was stopped at turned green, the answers to those questions, why am I like this, why is this happening, came pouring into me as a moment, as a message in a way to say, like, it's not happening because you're not making it happen. And that message, that feeling of knowing that it was my burden to have, it was my fault that I wasn't living that life, it became a really empowering feeling to know that in my heart, and to realize that it wasn't anybody else's fault, it wasn't anybody else's doing, it was my own doing that was creating those negative emotions, and not creating the positive life that I once strived to have. So that was the flick of the switch moment. It was literally almost to the second of when that light turned green, and it was an amazing feeling. I broke down in tears as I was driving further south. But yeah, that was the trigger. That was the light switch that flicked. And don't get me wrong, I've had moments where I've been depressed since then, or I've had those emotions, those negative emotions. But that was the catalyst. That was the trigger that created the launch to the mindset that I have today.
Right.
I
That
can go
was
deeper.
I'd say that was probably the opening of the floodgates, so to speak, of this new perspective.
Exactly, exactly. And I
And
could
one
go a
thing,
little
real
bit
quick,
further
sorry to cut
deeper.
you off. I just want to say, I definitely, as you went through this, very towards the beginning, remembered how much of this we had actually gone over already. But I think it's important we recap it, just because we may have new listeners. People may be coming fresh to the episode, don't want to be scrolling back, kind of thing. And also, that's a beautiful story. I think you could retell it hundreds of times, and it'll still have its value. So thank you for retelling it. Thank you for indulging us here. It's all coming back to me. I do remember. Um, that being the moment for you. And I think I even remember commenting, which I'll comment again. Sometimes you ask a question out loud to the universe, and whether you believe it's God, the universe, the forces that be, aliens, whatever the hell, your subconscious mind, however the fuck you think it works. The point is, sometimes you ask a question out loud or in your mind, and the answer just comes, however that happens. So here we
It's
have
true.
another example of that, but go on.
It's very true. It's very true. We are, in a way, we are magnets. So when we send thoughts or emotions or feelings out into the universe, occasionally the universe responds. And that was a moment where I needed a response, and I received the exact response that I needed to really catapult myself into a better lifestyle. I mean, it was that day that I vowed to stop eating fast food, because I was in a bad, don't get me wrong, there's a time and place for fast food if it's necessary for some people, but um at that time I was eating fast food 2 or 3 times a week, and sometimes twice in one day. So it was something that I needed to make changes in my life, and that fell into it too. Physical health is a very big part of mental health in my eyes, and I think that exercising and eating right is a big part towards living the mindset that we kind of strive for, a positive mindset, and then something that will continue to grow. Without that physical aspect, the mental aspect can definitely fall behind.
Yeah, that's something I need to hold myself more accountable for is the physical aspect because I agree with the concept. I mean, I how could it not be linked? If you understand spirituality, you understand anything physical is a manifestation of something on a higher plane that's either conceptual or energetic or non-physical. That's one of the perspectives. I don't know if you believe that, but it's definitely one of the perspectives I think is more probable that because it kind of goes with physics to me that yeah, there's the physical, there's what you see, but then on this smaller level, everything is just energy moving around. So, um, yeah, sorry, I honestly I forgot where I was going for a second with that.
No, no worries. I think you make a great point. We are essentially energy. So, there's two sides of energy, whether we want to call it positive or negative, whatever we want to call it. And the more we feed, the more that side grows. It's that there's a I don't know, I think it's a Native American kind of proverb, essentially, of like, there's a battle going on between us, between two wolves. One is, kindness and prosperity and peace and tranquility, and the other one is negativity, greed, doubt, fear. And which one wins is the one that we feed most. And I
100%.
think
That's
that's
actually one of my favorite fables. And I will just say, quick disclosure for the audience. This doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes I get so deep in one of my own ideas. I get so far from the beginning of it and so deep into whatever I was thinking in the passion, I forget where I started. So if that ever happens on this episode or on the podcast, I apologize. It's something I'm working on. It's this deep imagination I have, but it happens occasionally. But sorry, go
yeah, it
and
happens
it
to me
happened there.
too.
You
And
got to see it live, but go on.
it happens to me too, and I think it can happen with any creative mind, because a creative mind kind of doesn't always necessarily stick to a solid line. There are veers, there are forks in the road in our thought processes, and I think that it's beneficial to explore those roads as they come up. So I wouldn't feel any sort of negative feeling towards that type of reaction. I think it happens to the best of us.
I appreciate I appreciate your understanding. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's happened to me a bunch of times. In the beginning, I used to get embarrassed. Now it's like, okay, it's a little embarrassing, but like, fuck it, whatever. I have a very active mind. I'm not an idiot. If you've known me for a long time, you know it's actually a hyperactivity of thoughts, not some like stupidity. So
Right,
relax.
right. All you got to do is if
But
that
yeah,
ever
we'll
happens,
we
if
get
that
through
ever
it.
happens in the future, you continue your story, and then when you lose track, you just say, "And then I found $20," and it rounds out the story, and it's a good
That's
happy
not
ending.
bad. That's funny. That's a good tip. Yeah, and then later I'll listen to this the recording and I'll be like, "Oh my fucking god, that's what I was about to say." But
Exactly.
it is what it is.
Yep, yeah, I think that is it's something that we can all learn from. We're all just going about this life as best as we can without really knowing the rules, without really knowing what the blueprint is. And I think that's important to realize. My wife and I were talking the other day a little bit about this, about how um, well, one thing I wanted to bring up was Joe Rogan has a part of a stand up bit where he talks about, remember when we were kids and we thought there were such things as adults, and then
Yes,
you grow
dude.
up, and then
Yes.
you grow up, you realize that adults are just like big kids who really don't know as much as
It's
they lead on to
terrifying.
know.
I think about it all the time. Gary V has a thing like this too. It's not a whole skit where he talks about how he had a cousin who was like 33 or something when he was like 23 and he thought the 33-year-old guy was like an adult. Like
Yes.
I'm 31. So to think 33 is like that's the adult and I'm still looking up at my like 50, 60-year-old parents like no, those are adults. Like sorry, go on, but yes, 100% I know what you're talking about.
You're exactly right, though. I mean, at 30, we look at our 50 to 60-year-olds and be like, "Oh my God, that's so old." And then we get to 50 and 60, we look to 70 and 80-year-olds like, "Wow, that's so old." And you keep on going up the ladder. But I think it's important to realize that we're all just going through this life, wondering and looking to figure out what the best route forward is. And no one's immune from that, including doctors and lawyers and politicians and people that anybody who we look up to. We're all just going through this life, jumping from one stepping stone to the next. and sometimes there's no stepping stone that we have to jump to. So we have to wait on the stone we're at and look around and wait for something to pop up. And I think it's important to not rush ourselves and not judge ourselves too harshly, because we're all in that same boat. And no matter who tries to look like they have it all figured out. Even someone like Gary Vee, he doesn't have it all figured out, but he moves so quickly that nobody cares that he doesn't have it all figured out. And I think that's part of his genius. And everybody has their own level of genius that they're working towards slash living through. So yeah, I guess don't be too hard on ourselves and continue moving forward. I think that's a good blueprint.
Right. And you also don't need to have it all figured out. And you may never have it all figured out. I forget if I've ever told you this, but my conception is that knowledge itself is bullshit. I don't believe in knowledge. I think if you really think about it, I don't even think that's a thing. I think if you really try to have the conversation and define knowledge, you won't get anywhere. And because that's what I tried to do. I was in a philosophy class. They were trying to make a point. It was the thing about Socrates. Socrates says you can't know shit. He goes, you can't know anything. He goes, the only thing you can know is that you can't know shit. And I'm like, what? No way. Like, I know this, I know that. If you really work it and you go, well, what? Because knowledge involves like some sort of answer key. Like that's how you know. You need something to check it against.
Hmm.
And you could have knowledge in a box. You could have, okay, well, 2 + 2 = 4. That's knowledge. Sure. But like, what if 2 doesn't equal 2? You know what I mean? Like what if in some much larger scheme, 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, because two pieces of clay, right? Like because you change the context. To what? Two conceptually plus 2 = 4. Two pieces of clay plus pieces of clay equals one piece of clay because they'll mush together. So it's like, yes, that's a little bit of a semantics thing, but the idea is you don't fucking know anything. So, that's kind of where I land on these things is that that knowledge itself is illusory. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It makes a lot of sense, and I tend to agree with us those more philosophical ideologies, because we don't live in a black and white world. We live in so much gray, and we live in a world that we don't quite understand fully. You know, different dimensions or different levels of frequencies and light sources that we can't see with our eyes, but if we put on glasses, we can see it. So there's so many different perspectives that we can see things through, that it's impossible to know which is the right answer, which is the truth. But we do tend to have a common ground that we all come to, like specifically with, like, let's just say a math equation. Um, and that's geared in physical reality. But when you take it to that philosophical realm, it definitely changes the outcomes of certain
Right.
scenarios.
So where I was kind of going with that, I think, is, you know, so while there's no absolute knowledge, while you can't know anything for sure, while I believe the only thing you can know is you can't know anything, the second thing after that is kind of like this Descartes thing, like I think, therefore I am, and then you have your experiences. So just kind of like you said, like you had that moment, right? And then some people would go, "Oh, was that God? Was that the subconscious? Was that an angel? Who, I don't know." And I say you can't know, but what you can kind of know, or besides that you can't know, is, well, that's an experience you had. I think, therefore I am. I know that I think I know, kind of thing. Like I know that that's like in my mind. Like even if the whole rest of the world doesn't exist, that's an experience you had. So I think the most important takeaway from anything, and this is just my perspective, but it's the actual result. And I think that's kind of what you found in your revelation too, or to some extent, or when you flip the switch, is it's like, no, there's certain results in my life that I don't have that I want, and you got to take a different path to get there. And whatever your belief system is, or whatever you think, it's comparing where you are to where you want to be, and having the accountability to do something about the distance in between. Now, one thing I did want to get back into with you, um, earlier you said one of the big changes that came out of your mindset was not eating as much fast foods and getting physically healthier, and the connection between like the physical body and the mental body. And I think that's where I went off before, like into one of my weird tangents. But I was just going to agree that I agree that there is a a connection there between physical and mental, and I struggle sometimes on the physical side because I'm more in the mental, but I do got to get physically more fit. But I was going to ask you, beyond you getting physically more fit, is there, or not is there, because there must be, but what other examples do you think you could share with us about, like, after that switch flipped, what other changes did you make? Like, you said, there was like a relationship, like, did you realize things about the relationship, like, or for the sorry, the relationship ended, did you realize things about for a next relationship, or did you call that person back and say, hey, I realized this? Was there things with friends that changed? Was it a more gradual change? Like, how would you describe that process?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of things that changed, to be honest. I mean, besides the exercise and the eating better, um, I started filling my mind with more assets, more what I believed was informational assets. I started following people. Right, this is right around the time I started following people like Gary Vee, um, and Tony Robbins and Les Brown and Jim Rohn, who is a he's since deceased, but he had great like networking advice, and he was all about like network marketing companies back in the early 90s. And it just filled my mind with information that I can utilize for my benefit. I think of my brain as a computer in a way, and at that time I was downloading viruses, for lack of a better phrase. I was not filling my mind with positivity. I was watching mindless television. I was scrolling mindlessly. But after that day, I started just really looking into different mindsets and people who were sharing about mindset and how to improve your mindset and how to uh, just go after goals, and having those I guess role models to listen to and watch their content. It gave me motivation, and it gave me a foundation of thought to kind of bring into my mindset and really start to utilize those thoughts to create the emotions that I wanted in order to put those thoughts and emotions into action. So I think that was a huge reason for the continuation of that trigger, of that light switch turning on, was just consuming and consuming and consuming content that would benefit me in the long run, that would benefit my mindset and start leading me on a path to thinking more clearly and thinking with that more victor's mindset to improve and to go after and accomplish my goals.
Now, in terms of going after and accomplishing your goals, like, have you applied this towards like your profession, or your career, or like, is that part of your passions in life, or everyone's different. I have like a kind of 9 to 5 type thing, and then I have my, like, okay, I'm going after my passion, on the 5 to 9 side of things. Where
Right.
are you with that? Are you have you fully actualized your passions? Are you kind of where I'm at? Are you totally financially free? Where are you at with all that stuff?
So when I was during that whole transition, I was in a 9 to 5 job. I was working for the Hartford Insurance Company, and I was actually, it was only about 2 months after I got home from California that I was laid off from the Hartford. And that was another kind of conceptualization in my mind of like, man, I worked so hard for this company. I brought in, revenue for the company. I helped customers and clients, and they kind of just let me go because of everything that was going on in the world. And so it was really at that point that I wanted to get away from the corporate world. Unfortunately, that was a time when I really needed a job too. So I did get a job at Wells Fargo Bank, which is even more of a corporate institution. But um, it was something that was short lived because like while I was at that job, I was realizing I was not going after my passions. I was not going after my purpose. And during that time, I was also kind of working with a music group that was trying to do good things, and we were signed to an independent record label. We were doing some good things in the Northeast and traveling a little bit and doing shows. And that was like the start of my like real entrepreneurial journey of wanting to figure out where I laid. But um, it was during that time that we opened up for Drake at an after party, and the owner of the bar that the after party was at, he we had a good rapport going because we had been back and forth planning it all. And he asked me if I wanted to be an extra in an infomercial. So I was basically just an audience member going ooh and ah and clapping when they wanted us to clap.
Wait, bro. I'm sorry. Say that one more time again with like the relation to Drake and like you being in the audience. Sorry, say that one more time.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, so the group that I was managing and I was helping with their like social media and booking gigs and things like that and trying to get them into studios. We opened up for an after party, a Drake after party, at this bar.
Okay. So Drake had a concert somewhere. That concert had an after party, right?
Yes.
And then
And
you
we kind of like opened up the night at the after party, and he performed a couple
like you
songs
were a band.
afterwards. I'm not a band. I managed the music group who
Oh, you
performed.
were managing this. Sorry. I'm
Yeah,
just like trying to like I'm listening, but now I'm trying to like paint the picture kind of thing.
no problem at all. Yeah, so I would book their shows and run their social medias and get them studio time and work with them when filming music videos and things like that. And so yeah, we opened up for the after party. It was a great time, and the bar owner, we built a pretty good rapport throughout the booking process of getting that whole night planned out. And he asked me if I wanted to be an extra in an infomercial because he also produced commercials and movies and things.
And
And
this was like a manager for Drake.
this was the bar owner that where Drake's after party was.
Got it. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep it all in my head. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. It's kind of bouncing around a
No,
little
no,
bit.
it's all good.
We built the rapport. He asked me if I wanted to be in the infomercial, just like a background extra, an audience member who would clap when they wanted us to clap and go ooh and ah at the product they were trying to pitch. Um,
Wait.
eh,
This was the bar owner you said?
Correct. The bar owner
Wait, so
also
yeah, that's why I got lost. Sorry. So the bar owner also directs infomercials? Like
correct. He
what,
he he
what
he
so he's not just
produces
the bar owner. What
infomercials.
else is it? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, he produced infomercials. He produced
so he's a bar owner
movies,
slash
and
producer. You forgot the slash producer. That's what you lost me.
I
Okay.
should have added the slash
No, it's
producer.
fine. We're doing this together here. So and like, bro, before I fucking spaced that. So bar owner slash producer who is fucking obviously connected. He knows at the Drake thing. He's they chose him. Clearly, he's a guy who's got some keys to some doors. He asked you if you want to be in an infomercial. Go ahead, go on.
Yeah, so I agreed to be in the infomercial, and during the taping of the infomercial, I'm sitting there and I'm observing all the crew members that are necessary in order to put this all together, and it really just surprised me, and it intrigued me so much to see like everybody doing their role, and everything was so compartmentalized. The lighting people fix the lighting, the sound guys do the sound, and all that. So it was something that it really intrigued me, and I wanted to learn more. So I reached out to the guy. I'm like, hey, like this was kind of a cool experience. Is there anything that you could do to like steer me in the right direction? And he did. He steered me into some directions to get on to different sets, whether it be like different movies or different commercials or TV shows. And I was really just a background extra, like just somebody in the back that would walk by the camera to make it look more realistic. And I did that for a good 6 to 8 months, and I just kind of
Did you?
I
It was
loved.
on like the backgrounds of like other commercials you said, or like ever like you were like walked, you were like in the jury on Law and Order or something, or anything like funny or
Yes,
notable.
actually, that what I did do. Not I wasn't a jury member, but I was a person who was just like in the courtroom. Think of
Hey,
it like
nice. On Law and
as
Order.
yeah, yep. I did
Hey,
one
I like Law
episode.
and
That
Order.
was
Nice.
kind of cool. So yeah, I just started doing background work on all these different sets, as many sets as I could do, because that was kind of the easiest way to get onto different sets without any experience. So they're constantly looking for new faces and new people to be in different scenes and movies and shows and commercials and things like that. So I was like, all right, let's give this a try. This seems really cool. I've always loved movies, so I did it, and I had some pretty good luck early on. I got onto sets like Grown Ups 2, the movie Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy. Another one called Hope Springs that was with Meryl Streep and Tommy Lee Jones. So I had some good success, just being a background extra. Success is a subjective word, I guess, but some actors might look at that and be like, "What? You were just a background extra, no big deal." And it wasn't a big deal, but it was fun. It was exciting. It
No,
was
fuck
something
that, bro.
new.
That's success. You celebrate that shit. I'm with you. Fuck yeah. Party
Thanks.
when you could fucking party, you know? Like when
Yeah,
you got something
definitely.
to celebrate, celebrate.
Absolutely. And the Grown Ups 2 experience was probably one of my best experiences on a film set, still to this day, actually. Getting to hang around the set with people like Adam Sandler and Kevin James and Chris Rock and those people. I mean, it's not like we were having huge conversations with them, but we were able to discuss a little bit and just have chats with them on set. So that was a really cool experience. Um, but after that, I didn't want to be on camera. So I found a different ways to get on sets without being an on-camera person. You know, I found production assistant roles where literally production assistants are doing the dirty work. They're doing things like setting up tables and chairs for people and making coffee and getting snacks and whatever, taking garbage out, whatever is necessary to make the set run smooth. That was something I was interested in because it would get me onto set. And I started doing that a lot and networking and getting on different projects. And found it sort of found a lane in the art department with props and set dressing and set decorating, and that was something that I really fell in love with, and I really started to get more gigs and more jobs in that world, and started working up ladders. I started getting prop masters on different short different low budget films. I got a prop master role on a Hallmark Christmas movie, and I started working with Hallmark and Lifetime a bunch. And I worked up to a production designer, which is a department head position that I did pretty much all just before COVID hit. We finished a lot of those, and then COVID hit, and the whole industry shut down, the whole world shut down. Um, so I had to take a step back and think about what I really wanted to do. And during that time, I was actually introduced to a studio owner in the same town that I live in who does photo and video shoots for mostly commercials and print ads. And he went to the same high school as me. His studio is in the same town as me. It was like a blessing in disguise that right after COVID hit and right after all the whole industry was going through these changes and rules and restrictions to be on sets, it was a perfect opportunity. So I ran with it, got involved with this studio and this studio director, and we've been doing photo print ads and video commercials for Stanley Black and Decker, DeWalt Tools, um, Craftsman Tools. We've done projects for the state of Connecticut and Connecticut tourism. That's where I'm from, Connecticut. So it turned into something that was really a great opportunity, and that's where I'm at right now is working in that world, and really working in that world part time and working in Web3 part time as well. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm
Bro, that
loving.
sounds fucking awesome. That is like a beautiful come up story, especially since it involves like when you listen to and I don't know if you do. Sometimes I'll listen to like biographies or successful people talk, and there's usually a point in their come up story where like you go, "Oh, that could have like really set someone back," or like, "Oh, someone might have stopped there." And bro, getting like all fucked up like right in the middle of your like momentum by COVID, like that could have defeated some people mentally, you know what I mean? And losing that positive mindset could have been, what stopped people dead in their tracks. But you kept on your positive mindset, you made a positive connection, and you just fucking kept that momentum up, bro, and you didn't let COVID stop you, and you just kept building. I fucking love that, bro, because this was all about, right? At the beginning of it, we framed this around it's about being a victor, not being a victim. And that just comes from a mindset. It comes from how you approach your situations. It comes from accepting that, life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react, that kind of thing. And you're not just talking the talk. You got hit with a fucking, COVID bomb like the rest of us. But whereas some people said, oh, I'm a victim. COVID is the reason my career stopped. COVID is so where some people found an excuse, you found a way forward. So fucking props, bro. That's what this podcast is all about, bro. Passions, positivity, fucking teaching these types of lessons, showing real life examples of real people who had real fucking struggles and found their way forward. And you're exemplifying that. So, dude, thank you for sharing that. And I want to just say congrats, dude, for actually walking the walk of the talk you talk.
Thank you. Really, I really appreciate that. The just the recognizing it and hearing it, it definitely makes me feel fulfilled because it was a difficult time, when I mean it was a difficult time for everyone. Don't get me wrong, but the one thing I would even mention that made it even more difficult was like when it first happened. I had two movies scheduled to come back to back that would have been the biggest movies I've ever worked on. One was like starring Neo and what's that? The girl from Transformers. What's her name?
Megan Fox.
Megan Fox. They was gonna star those two. It was gonna be out in California somewhere, so I was gonna be able to travel for it. It would have been my first like long time or long distance travel for a movie. So there was a lot of things that were that spring into the summer was like I was so looking forward to how things were gonna go from there. And then COVID happened and it shut it all down and it did. It stopped me from getting work for about 3 or 4 months fully. And then after that 3 or 4 months was over, it almost seamlessly worked right into meeting the studio director and getting linked up with that production company. So it was like it was a blessing in disguise because I could have, you know, there I love I loved working on movies. They were extremely stressful. Sometimes 1 month or 2 months or 3 months of like 6 to 7 day work weeks and 14 to 16 hour days. So it did get super stressful and super like just jam packed with work. But I did love it. But the best thing about the print ads and commercial world is it's like I guess I haven't worked like 7 day work week in a long time, which is a great feeling. So it was a blessing in disguise, and I met some really cool people during these times, and I'm still working with these people today. So it's great, and they're actually the production company is the production company that I plan on utilizing for my NFT project once that project is fully functional and up and running. So I'm ready, and I look forward to what's going to happen in 2023.
Bro, I'm fucking hyped to, keep my eyes on you, keep following you on socials here, keep seeing what tweets you put out, and just keep seeing where you're going, bro, because you're this fucking rising star in what you're doing right now. And in my eyes, bro, I know you said, oh no, some big actors, this and that, some people would discount some of your accomplishments. Bro, fuck that, bro. You're not comparing to what other people have done. You got to compare to what you did yesterday. And if you fucking line up all your yesterdays and put them against today, in my opinion, you're killing it. So don't let anyone fucking take anything away from that. Question I have for you. You mentioned this NFT project you have coming out. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Do you want to, let us know what that's all about?
Sure, sure. I can touch a little bit on that. It's called Hardly Hollywood, and essentially what it is a decentralized movie creation studio. What I plan on doing is uh, create uh, creating the movie together with the community through a polling process. So I would essentially ask questions and have multiple choice questions so that the community of token holders can vote on what happens in the movie. So we'll start from scratch. We'll say what kind of movie we making? What genre is it? Is it a comedy? Is it an action? Is it a horror? And then from there we go down to the subgenre. So if action is chosen in the first poll, then is it a comedy action? Is it an action thriller? Is it an action horror movie? Where does it lie on that spectrum, on that plane? And then we're going to continue to go down like past, present, or future. The plot twists, characters, different character actions, and the obstacles that they'll overcome. So it's a process that I've been unraveling in my mind and on paper for about a year now, and I think I have a lot of it organized and ready to go. There's just some back end things that I want to get taken care of, including some promotional material that I have in the works that are just kind of holding me up a little bit. And I think I know I'll get there. I'm very close. I have an artist, a really talented artist who is getting making some major waves in the R&B world. His album is actually number 2 on the R&B charts on iTunes, and I had him create a song called Hardly Hollywood, kind of going into the magic of Hollywood and how it all unfolds, but that's not what we are. We are hardly Hardly the politics, hardly the drama of Hollywood. We are just a group of people who want to make a good movie, and I think that's it's a powerful thing. I think people's involvement in making a movie, they look at a movie and see like, oh, it's only the chosen few in Hollywood that get to make movies, but I want to make it possible for regular people to participate in the creative process, the production process, the post production process with editing and the music that comes with the project and the distribution. So I want to have people that want to have their pulse on a movie and really participate in the whole process.
That honestly sounds super exciting, super awesome. Depending on where I'm at, fucking funds wise, hopefully it's something I have the funds to be a part of. Now, on that regard, have you thought about like mint price, that kind of thing, mint date? That's too far out. Like you're still in the planning phase. Like, do you know anything about that kind of thing?
The date is too far out. I'm running the numbers because the mint will essentially mint and part of the secondary will fund the movie. Um, I'm looking at around zero point zero 0.05. I know it's a little high right now in this market, but I'm hoping that later on in the year, maybe the summer, maybe the springtime, I'm hoping the market might come around a little bit. I'm also looking to incentivize the mint process so that like this is just an example. It hasn't been locked down, but let's just say the first 1,000 mints get entered into a drawing to win one ETH, or maybe an NFT that's worth close to one ETH, something like that to incentivize the minting process. Also, there will be different roles that people can receive based on when they mint. So someone might receive a role where they get the finished finalized script autographed and sent to them, a physical copy, and that will be a raffle that we can do. Maybe I mint the script once it's finished into an NFT and it's airdropped to specific holders that participated or minted at a certain time. There's different incentivized um, actions and gifts that I want to provide people to just get them people more likely to want to invest into the project. So I haven't ironed out all the details, but that zero point zero 0.05 region seems like it would be conducive to create a great movie. And when funding actors and actresses, which I would love token holders to be audition for the cast. The token holders will be able to cast their votes for the roles. So if a token holder wants to audition, they have that right, and will be in that process. And if they don't want to audition, then they will be kind of in charge of their votes to vote on who will be casted in these roles. So I think that there will be a lot of benefits, a lot of features to holding, and that participation in the whole process is part of that utility that I hope people will see the value in.
Now, I'm sorry if you said this. I'm trying to remember. Did you have any plans for like box office money, like necessarily going back to holders in some sort of way or some percentage, or like certain holders? Is it like that type of thing where like they're involved in the movie, they have these voting rights, but like when it releases, like is there some sort of payout, or does that go to like a community treasury, or like any thoughts on that?
There will absolutely be a community treasury. I have a percentage of the mint and a percentage of the secondary going to the community treasury. I don't know the legality of bringing back revenue to the holders. But if I can do that with through like whatever's going on in Congress and how they're voting on how these are subjected, I would love to give back a portion to the holders, whether it be to distribute it amongst all holders or certain specific holders, because there are four tiers to the project. One tier would be the movie ticket, which would receive two votes. The next one would be like the clapper that is used on set. That would be 5 votes. The next level is the actual video camera that will have 20 votes. And then last, the top tier would be a director's chair, which will have 100 votes that can be allocated. And I really hope to make sure that the director's chairs are really taken care of. Those are all minted blind too, so it's not like you choose what you're minting. Um, So yeah, I would love to give back, to answer your question. I would love to give back revenue from the project, but there will absolutely be a community wallet that will be distributed through through whether it's community raised projects. Maybe there is a filmmaker in the community who really wants to create a short film, and we vote on allocating some funds to let them fund their short film. Or maybe there's someone who really wants to I don't know, maybe they're going for an audition, and it's a big audition, and maybe we want to allocate, like, a quarter ETH to let them fly to the audition. Or I don't know, I'm just thinking of very different ways to bring that community wallet back to the community. And some will be fun ways, some will be practical ways and logical ways to help them grow in their craft, whether it be a filmmaker or a photographer, even, or an actor or a writer. I look to definitely give back to the community, because that they're the ones that are the most important.
Yeah, I love all of that, and, I don't think .05 is a crazy, mint. Some people maybe can't, they'll be blocked out by it, and that'll happen at, probably whatever level you set it. Some people won't be able to afford, anything. Uh,
Sure.
obviously more or less depending where you set it. But, I don't think .05 is crazy. I think .05 is a reasonable, mint to get in. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about it, man, and then, personally, I am a writer, I'm a speaker. I've never done in high school, I used to be an actor. Some part of me always thought, like, yeah, I don't know, like, if certain things I do kick off, like, and my speaking kicks off, and maybe I could be, hosting a show, a talk show host, and all of a sudden you're in a movie, like a Jimmy Fallon kind of thing. I mean, he was an actor the whole time, but you know what I'm talking about. Talk show host becomes someone who's in a movie. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. This could be it, man. This could be the podcast right here, right? Like we could look back on this in, 5 years or 3 years, whatever the fuck it is, whatever the time scale is, and we could be like, holy shit, like that was when Ian Lipkowski started going on this path where he got into the movie industry. He became, more of an actor, or, maybe that's not the side I come in on. Maybe it's my writing. I used to write for a video game website. I've done a lot of like editing, writing kind of thing. Now I'm doing something else, but it's like I still have those skills. I still keep up my writing. So yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty hype about this. I feel like, yeah, I see myself being some sort of part of this here, maybe getting, I don't know what, you say always say ponder it from all angles. I don't know what angle I'll come in on, but hopefully there's some room for Ian Lipkowski in here.
I love it. I love it. And it's true. You never really know when opportunity is going to knock and where it's going to come from. Like I said, I was managing a music group when I was brought on to become an extra in an infomercial. You know what I mean? It had nothing to do. I was at a bar, so it's
Right,
one of
and
those
then you
things
went,
you
and
never
then and
know.
then that wasn't even your preferred path. Like you were like, no, I don't want to be on the camera. I want to be like off the camera. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm right. I'm kind of feeling some of the, you're inspiring me here because you're, I don't know if you ever seen Fight Club. You ever see Fight Club?
Of course,
So
absolutely.
fucking there's the Tyler Durden that's the imagined guy who's actually living the dream that the other guy wants. So, bro, you're Tyler Durden of one of my dreams right now. You know what I'm saying? Like you're the guy who did the thing. You showed up somewhere, you got in the movies, you got out of the movies, you ended up on the side you wanted. Bro, I'm fucking listening to you. You're getting me hyped the fuck up because it's just instilling this image in my mind. That's what I was trying to do before. Paint the picture, see myself there, see myself as you, put my eyes, feet, fucking mind, soul in the perspective of the main character. Bro, I'm trying to live out your movie, and I'm like, bro, this is dope. Like I could fucking get with this. I could fuck with this. So yeah, dude, thank you for telling me all this shit. Thank you for inspiring me. I think this is a super positive episode of the show here. um you know, let me just consciously, we have about 10 minutes left of the podcast. You've been killing it, just, with all your stories, examples, like I said. But the last 10 minutes or so, depending on sometimes when I notice the clock, but usually last 10 minutes, last 5 minutes, whatever it is, we usually just kind of like hyper focus on the kind of shilling aspect for you. If that's what you want to use it for, it's really whatever you want to use it for. But yeah, usually this is the part, like on an interview or a talk show, we said Jimmy Fallon, where the guest goes, all right, I got a book coming out, and it's coming out on this day, and I'm doing this. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to do any kind of like hyper shill mode real quick, go ahead. If not, then anything else you kind of want to share here in these last 9 minutes, the time is totally yours and ours. But yeah, let me know.
Sure. I mean, right now it's right here on Twitter. It's Three Heads Creating. I don't have really any other social medias. I'm starting to get Hardly Hollywood's social media kind of ramped up. I mean, I'm not going hard with it quite yet because, like I said, I'm not too um, locked in on the back end. So once the back end is really locked in and ready to roll, then there'll be tons more content being put into Hardly Hollywood. But right now, it is on. We are on Twitter, Hardly Hollywood at Hardly Hollywood. Um, Three Heads Creating here. I try to do a morning. I've been since the new year. I've been trying to do a little morning message, and I just hop on an audio. Um, like an audio file, and I just record it and post it to Twitter. It's just a morning message of something that's on my mind for the day. And I've been trying to do that along with hosting a few more spaces. A buddy of mine came to me and was just like, we should talk about the 12 and a half book with Gary and all those emotional ingredients and how we use them and how we learn from them. And I thought it was a great idea. So we've been doing a few of those. So I think that's a great place to find. You could see them on my Twitter timeline. I posted a few over the last few weeks. Um, and then yeah, just be on the lookout for Hardly Hollywood because I think I really believe in the project. I really believe in my ability to facilitate the project and continue to progress and grow it along with writing the movie. Because once the movie is written by the community, it's off to the races. The production of it will be in really good hands with the production company that I work with, the studio that I work with, and the talent that can come from it. I think that we're in a really good place, and I can't wait to really get it launched and get it going.
Love to hear it. Now, this is kind of funny. One thing here, because we're at the end. Let me bring it full circle. Yeah, I just kind of remembered. I don't know why this is how my mind works. I remembered where I veered off earlier, where you had said you believe mental and physical health are strongly tied, and I started going off into how I believe the universe is full of energy and all these other things. But my point with that was, if you do believe the universe is full of energy, and you could see it on the level of the metaphysics where everything is one and God is the same energy or source or love, or if you want to see it on the actual physics of E equals MC squared, everything is some sort of energy. um you know you can kind of come to this perspective where maybe you see what I'm seeing, where everything that is physical has some other level of it that is non-physical, so that everything is tied in that way, like whether you believe it spiritually or scientifically. So I was just going to say, this is so far from the original point. Thank you for listening from beginning to end to hear my finishing of this point, if you're out there in the audience. But my point was that, yes, if you believe that your whole body is an extension of the spirit kind of thing, then yeah, like your physical is a reflection of your kind of core soul or core essence or core state of being or your chakras or whatever you want to say. So if your physical is reflecting not so good, that means yes, there's also somewhere behind that, energetically, mentally, psychologically, things kind of mirroring across all levels. Then yes, like on every level, it is a reflection in some part of the same thing, of the same truth. And part of that truth is, if you're physically unhealthy, yeah, that's something is going on in your mental, and vice versa. If you're mentally unhealthy, it'll show in the physical. If you're physically unhealthy, it'll affect your mental. And it's a inextricable, unbreakable relationship. So that is that is the end of that thought from before, which I don't know why it came in now, but that's the way the universe works, I guess. But and so on the
Absolutely.
tail end of that, and this is a loaded question for 4 minutes left, but we've talked a lot about a lot of different concepts. Are you religious in any way? Are you do you subscribe to a religion? Are you more, some of the stuff you said was Buddhist, when you said, like, your thoughts become patterns become actions or words, or sorry, I forget exactly the quote, but I'm pretty sure it's a Buddhist quote, where you go from thoughts to behaviors to patterns to actions kind of thing. Do you subscribe to religion, Buddhism, anything else?
So I guess I was raised Catholic. Um, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily Catholic. I do believe in a God. I don't know what that God is. I believe in a higher power that is omnipotent and omnipresent, but I wouldn't say I necessarily subscribe too much to any one religion. I find that there probably is a point where all religions intersect, and I feel like deep in my soul that's where I lie. I feel like there are massive truths inside each and every religion, and I
Wait,
think
do you
that
lie, or they're massive truths? No, I'm just fucking around. I know what you meant. I'm sorry. I just recently became a dad. I'm dad joking, guys. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's good. That's good. You got to get the dad jokes in.
Get him out.
You're dad now. You're dad now. So the jokes got to
Exactly.
come. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I stand. I'm somewhat of an agnostic, I guess you would call myself. I believe in a higher power. It's super energy, and it's always aware, and we're always connected to it, and it's always connected to us. It lies within us and around us, and we lie within it and around it. So I guess that's where I lie. One thing I wanted to mention about you were kind of discussing about the physical and the energetic world. If someone who is listening to this really just sees themselves as a physical being and they don't understand maybe the energy side of things, or don't understand the quantum realm, which is the very small realm at which our universe is. I really encourage you to look at the double slit experiment. And if you're not
Dr.
familiar with the
Quantum,
double slit,
baby. Have you seen the Dr. Quantum
yes,
video?
the cartoon,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
Hell
it's
yeah. Wait,
phenomenal.
did you see the full movie that's a famous clip in, I think? It's called What the Bleep Do We Know?
I don't think I've seen that. No.
Oh man, half the movie is like fake science, half of it's real shit, half of it's just like people talking. But if you take it with that grain of salt, what the bleep do we know? Phenomenal movie on like the whole spiritual, metaphysical, positive energy. Great compilation of little clips, interviews, things with physicists, things with like spiritual teachers, just like a random mishmash of like shit that somebody put together, but it kind of goes well. It meshes very well.
What the bleep do you know? I'll definitely
What
take
the
a look
bleep
at
do
that.
we know? Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
And it's
that
actually bleep. It's I'm not like I'm not
right, right.
censoring myself.
But yeah, that whole experiment and what it describes really opened my eyes to how we aren't exactly physical, and the things that we don't see are sometimes more powerful than the things that we do see. So I love to keep that open mind, that just because, if I'm ever in a mental state where I'm not fully like motivated or ready to go, or excited about the future, I tend to go back to that double slit experiment and kind of remind myself that just because I don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. If a goal I'm trying to attain, or something I'm trying to accomplish, just because I haven't seen it yet doesn't mean that something in the background isn't moving towards me and towards my success. So I encourage everyone to kind of look at that experiment and just look at it with an open mind, and see it for what it is, because it's powerful.
I agree with you. Dr. Quantum double slit experiment. Put that in YouTube. You'll see a guy looking like Bill Nye-ish, gray hair. He's got this like blue superhero suit. When you see that, you know that's the right video. There's also another one called Dr. Quantum Flatlander that's also worth watching, that talks about the different dimensions of reality, second dimension, third dimension, fourth dimension, but from a scientific perspective. So 100% love that you brought that up. I love hearing these connections between the guests and some of the references that we've both had that are definitely informing our thought. And how we kind of go from the thoughts to finding the reference. I think that's super cool if you kind of follow the flow of a conversation. Um, but yeah, I mean, bro, again, this has been a fucking awesome episode. You got me super charged up here. It's 2 o'clock. That does bring us to the hour. I'll just flip it back to you one more time. Any last like mic drop statement moment thing you want to get out? You're like, oh shit, I didn't realize this was my last moment. Now's the time, and then I'll thank our listeners here and I'll close it out.
No, I really appreciate you holding this space. You do have great energy, and you bring that energy to the microphone, which is a wonderful thing to have when you're on a podcast or on a space. I think that continue to do these things, continue to talk to people as much as you can, and I'm going to do the same. I think that the more we converse, the more we connect with like-minded individuals, the more that we can confirm what is already in our minds. Because a lot of times when we think for ourselves and we're critical thinkers, it gets lost in the mix among the normal society standards of conversation and small talk, and hey, what'd you do today, and then how was your work? You know, these conversations, these deeper dives into our intellect and the way that our minds work and the universal ways. I think it definitely helps unlock people's potential. And there's a quote, there's a whole long quote in Coach Carter, where the guy stands up and he has this long quote about about how we when we feel empowered and when we live through our empowerment, we subconsciously empower others to do the same, you know, and not to dim our light, because dimming our light doesn't make anybody else shine brighter. It just dims our light. So to anybody else listening that this resonates to, shine bright, shine your light on the world, and never hold back a message because you think somebody isn't ready to receive it, because you can never underestimate the power of planting the seed.
Fuck yeah, baby. Never estimate the power of planting a seed. On that same thought, another just random quote to tie in there. One candle can light an infinite amount of other candles without losing any light. You can light 100 candles, 1,000 candles, the same candle. You can light all those other candles, and the candle you use to light them stays lit. It retains its power, it retains its light. So light you could actually spread infinitely while holding your own. That's basically the point here. Keep spreading the light, keep spreading the love. A message I always like to end on here is from my friend Afakasi Brand, or Afakasi on Twitter. He also does some spaces called the Barbershop. Find out when those are. I think in the middle of the day ish, or just check his page if you want to check it out. But anyway, his message is that if you haven't heard it today, you are loved. The universe is full of love. Like we said, everything's energy. Everything is, one connection, one love, one energy, one source. One way to look at that is that source is love, and love is the energy that creates all the other manifestations of the universe. So you are love, and if you haven't heard it today, you are love. Thank you for coming to the podcast. Wild, I see you in the audience there. Thank you so much for listening. This podcast also is on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I will be posting the link on this post, and if you scroll my feed, it's definitely in a bunch of other places. But I will post it again if you want to check out other episodes. Same thing for anyone else listening. Also, Wild, anyone else listening, if you ever want to be a guest on the show, just send me a DM. We're pretty open to guests. We're pretty open to topics. As long as you're not like hurting other people or innocent people, or as long as you're not hurting fucking the world in some way, I'm pretty open to talk about whatever the fuck you want to talk about. Keep it positive, keep it passionate. But that's it. Once again, thank you for coming on. Thank you to the listeners. Thank you to God and the universe for allowing me to be alive and have this energy and conduct the show. You are loved, and peace out.